And that's the biggest piece. Instead of going in it with your own flesh, with your own feelings, opinions, and all of that,
Yeah.
and going into this, because of course that's what's going to come out.
Hi, Darlene.
Hi, Delma.
Thank you for coming today. I'm very
Of
excited
course.
to have you. It's been a while since I've actually been on the podcast, so I'm really excited to be back, and I'm glad to have you on the ministry today with us here, or the podcast today, I should say.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to, I guess, dive right into it. And so what I'd like to do is just give our audience a little bit of a background on what it is that you do, who you are, a little bit of a backstory there. And then we can kind of dive into today's topic, which is really how we can show up and what Christianity looks like in the workplace, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you again for having us. Well, myself, I say myself and my husband because I know he's here too. But so I grew up Catholic, so I'm kind of more of a newer Christian, as you know, my walk and story. But I think it's probably only been maybe about now 5 or 6 years, and so I've kind of had the accelerator crash course in ministry, because my husband, he's a pastor, and so um, we're still, again, we're in that place right now where we're taking a little bit of sabbatical right now, I should say, from ministry. Not that you can ever take a sabbatical from ministry. When you're called, right? And kind of, I know this, we're going to dive into the topic in a little bit about how we can show up as a Christian in our workplace, as well. But going back to the beginning again, I grew up Catholic, so my relationship with Jesus was more transactional, right? It was more of when you needed something or when
Right.
something was going wrong. It was just like, okay, God, help me. Like, please help me with this, or I need this. It wasn't until later on, obviously, until I became a Christian and was saved, that, I realized that it's more about like God wants us to have a relationship with him, and a relationship
Yeah.
like how you would with like your closest.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Talk to
brother.
me like what that means for you now,
Yeah.
as you say that you're a Christian now. Like, what does that mean for you?
Yeah. I think again, before, God was always, I always believed in God. It wasn't that, it was just, he was like a far off God. It was always like a God that lived in the heavens, not a God that lived here with
That's what he
us.
knew of, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But just like even like my grandmother, still prays to the Virgin Mary, right? My sisters and my brothers still pray to saints and stuff like that, right? That's who we knew growing up. That's where I
How
felt,
you were
that's where our help came
raised.
from, right?
Right.
It's from
To
carrying this saint around in
believe.
your
Yeah.
purse or stuff
Yeah.
like that. It was
Right.
it wasn't like where I knew God, the Holy Spirit indwell in me, and he walks with me everywhere I go and is with me everywhere I am.
So it's a different type of relationship. So it's like, those that are Catholic, they have a different relationship than you. So you would describe the relationship different,
Yeah.
right? I guess.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I do think that God reaches people in different ways, and some people have that belief and walk. And I mean, me personally, I mean, I grew up Catholic as well, but I wanted more of an intimate relationship. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of
Yeah, I think
where
probably most
the
Catholics feel that
difference
it's like
is.
he's an inaccessible God in the sense of, he is all sin, or you know what I mean? Like everything's a sin and you're going to hell for it. And yes, that's part of the Bible. But again, that's not all God is, right? He's not just a person who tells you what you can't do. He's also a person that shows up and loves you unconditionally and died for your sins.
Right.
And it's hard for people to, some people, I say, like, I can only speak from experience, like Catholics in my experience from like my family and growing up, that's kind of been my experience.
Yeah. And we all have a different relationship,
Yeah.
right, with Christ.
Yeah.
So as you have grown in your walk with Christ, how has that, there's this whole process of that you've gone through, it sounds like, from transitioning to where you are today with your walk? And I guess how has that impacted you? Not only, I mean, I'm sure in a personal level it's impacted you, but I really want to focus today, like in the workplace. I mean, don't hold back, right, on the personal side, right? If on what you want to share, right?
Yeah.
But I think I really just kind of want to focus like in the workforce and um, how does that impact you? There's a level of courage, right? Sometimes, and a level of maturity and growth. Sometimes when we show up in the workplace, because sometimes there are some conversations or things I've always personally wondered, like, how am I showing up in the workplace? I'm on the day to day, I do a lot of HR work.
Yeah.
So I've got to be sensitive to where not everybody has my beliefs either, right? But there are some times when I do need to be bold and courageous, and I do talk to people and I say things and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just get fired, right?
Yeah.
But like that's kind of where I want to talk with you about that. So my first question here is, we have conflict, right, at work, and it could be something major, it could be something minor. So as a Christian, how do you confront others in the workforce with grace, but yet lead with boldness? Because you're a leader at work.
Right.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, and I know this topic came up the other day because, again, we're both directors in our field. I've been a director of nursing for a few years, been in nursing for 25 years, but again, management for the latter part of my career, as well as you have. And so I know when we were talking about it, and I know that's something that it's a daily struggle sometimes. It's like every time you think like, oh, I got this, or you went through something already, and you're like, okay, the next time but being a Christian isn't easy. It's like, it's not, that's why they call it the narrow walk, right? It's just like, it is having to sit with the person or persons or team or whatever that,
Right.
where might not always have the best intentions for you, or have
Right.
tried to
Right.
sabotage your career, or try to make
There's
work
personalities,
life, work difficult in the different personalities, and you still have to show up
Mm-hmm.
and love them and show them grace, just like Jesus shows us and loves us and
Yeah.
shows us grace. But I don't have it figured out. I just feel that there is a way, as long as we speak the truth in love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking the truth in love, because that's what we are supposed to do as Christians, right? We can still be bold and get our point across, but as long as it's with love, because that's the Christian side of us,
Right.
right? That's how we should interact with anybody.
Yeah. I think it's a tough question, right? And I opened with a really tough question. I think for me, when you are in a leadership role and you're having to work with others in the workplace and you are dealing with conflict, the thing is that conflict and grace, they are opposites, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, a lot of times I go in a meeting, I will be very honest, I pray on a lot of things. I don't know the answers a lot of times, but I will, and I'm very honest sometimes when I don't have the answer. But I do pray before I go into a meeting. I do try to think things through. I take it to God, and I'm like, if I have time, I will sit with Him on it for a little bit, because I want to make sure that how I'm responding is appropriate and the way I should be responding. Like, I know how I want to respond,
Yeah.
but I also know that sometimes I need to sit back and
Yeah.
just kind of wait, especially if it's like an intense situation where there's high emotions involved.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I do need to take that moment to step back, but then I also need to be very methodical and choose my words very wisely, because I do feel that we need to be able to love on others, even if it's through the workplace. And sometimes we may not like the person,
Right.
and we may not like what they said, or we may not like the situation. but dealing with it and navigating it, it's like really taking the emotion out of it, but really sticking to the facts. Like,
Yeah.
what are the facts in the situation?
Right.
How do we deal with this situation? At the end of the day, what's right and what's wrong, right?
Right.
I think when you were leading, as far as from the boldness aspect, I mean, sometimes you do have to be bold and say certain
Yeah.
things that maybe are very uncomfortable,
Right.
but still need to be said. And there's still a way to be able to deliver your message. And there's that, the way it's projected, I think is what's really key,
Yeah.
right? Because I think the tone is important. I think how we express ourselves, our facial expressions, our demeanor. And I think one of the things that I have really been working on is I can't, I'm going to say this, and I don't take it the wrong way. Like, I can't control how people respond
Right.
and how they act towards me or how I'm going to say something, right? But I do think that I can't control what they're going to do,
Right.
and they can't control what I'm going to do. And I hate that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have control over what somebody's going to say to you or how they're going to say it
Right.
to you or what they're going to do. And that's workplace, personal life, marriage, friendships.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, and so one of the things that I have really been working through, and it's not just at work, but it's like, how do I respond with grace? Because a lot of times I am disappointed. I am disappointed because I have such high expectations. And when people don't deliver at what I would expect or what I would want, I'm disappointed. And so I have to really deal with my thoughts and my emotions before I go into the room and deal with somebody and deal with the situation. And then I've got to put my game face on, right? As
Yeah.
far as, okay, this is it. This is where I'm at. Lord, I'm leaving this at your feet. Help me get through it.
Yeah.
And so I think there is a level, I think that's where the level of grace comes in, but the level of boldness comes in because
Yeah.
you're also having to deliver tough messages, or whether you're going
Yeah.
up toe to toe with another person that's like an equal peer
Yeah.
or even more senior, and you're having to deliver hard messages, especially with people that are more senior
I think
than
like
you.
you're right where you said you pray before, and I think that's where that key importance of it is before you go into any meeting or have it, you know you're gonna have a difficult conversation with somebody. I feel like that's what's really changed even my changed my interactions with people in those circumstances and instances. Especially I could definitely testify to that the past few weeks, that as long as I pray before going in, and when I tell you there's a calmness that comes over me where it's just like, I don't know
I
how
can't do it
people
without
can
you, God.
do
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, how do people live life without Jesus in
You're
them?
like hashtag Jesus. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just like, I don't understand because
Yeah.
it's again, it is this, because he gives us the wisdom, the words that where we didn't
Right.
even know, like, oh my God, please go before me. Give me the wisdom, give me the words to say. And that's the biggest piece, instead of going in it with your own flesh, with your own feelings, opinions, and all of that,
Yeah.
and going into this. And because, of course, that's what's going to come out. So, yeah, that really is probably one of the most important things to do before, to be able to show grace.
Yeah. I actually had that with somebody recently at the office, and it actually turned out I didn't know what to expect, and it actually ended very well. So I asked God, and then I actually had the opportunity to pray for this person at work, and in the role that I'm in, like I think me being in HR, it is very difficult to sit there and openly say, "Hey, let me pray for you," right? So I've got to be very, very cautious and careful because
Yeah.
people are super sensitive these
Right.
days and don't agree or are
Yeah.
not open.
And I think also because we're in leadership roles, we are held to a different standard.
Yes.
Whether that's fair or not, we are.
Yeah.
And so we have to be, even if you weren't a Christian, right? You still have to be able to hold yourself to a higher standard than the peers you lead and the team you surround yourself with.
So I'm going to ask another question. My next question here is, what's a time you avoided a hard conversation and later regretted it?
Think about that one a little bit, because avoidance now, doesn't mean the problem's just going to resolve itself. It's
Yeah.
literally just going to probably get bigger and bigger. And
Right.
so kicking that can down the road a little bit longer is,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's what we would like for it just to go away, I know is not the right way to deal with any difficult situation. I think for me, it's probably more a conversation with a friend, a dear friend,
Mm.
which just because of the relationship with a dear friend, right? Where they're like a sister to you, and they're in a different life season and things change, right? And that's okay. Like I can still be in your life or you can still be in my life, even though we're in different seasons. The dynamics might change a little and yeah, that might look different. And I'm okay with that. That's okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was something that was kind of like the elephant in the room, right? Where I know things were changing. I think we're both kind of feeling like that stress or that a little bit of that tenseness
Mm.
where I think, she felt I wasn't being a good friend and I felt she wasn't being a good friend.
Mm.
And it kind of then ended up, it just kind of blew up, right?
Right.
One day, just I think I called her. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And then it just kind of and I'm like, whoa, what just
I
happened?
just needed to let that out. My bad.
Yeah. But then again, but God, right? If that were me 5 years ago, I'd been like, screw you. I don't need you.
Yeah.
I don't need you as a friend. Fine. You think whatever you want, whatever, right?
Right.
Hung up the phone and moved on.
Mm.
But again, I value my relationships now. And I think you know this. It's, even though our circle's smaller, it's for a reason, right? Before I used to have a lot of friends and but it was more quality over quantity, right? Now it's like the different types of friendships I have mean more to me because they're intentional, right?
Yeah.
But again, if it was like 5 years ago, I'd probably been like, whatever.
Yeah.
But because I valued her friendship so much, it was just like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be girl or, put my big girl panties on and be like, okay, you know what? I'm sorry if that's
Right.
is your perception. This was my perception, but how can we make this better?
Right. Yeah. Sometimes, there's a couple thoughts that I have here. One, I feel like that's another area of grace, right? Where I've had to like really think on. And I think for 2026, everybody's got a word of the year, right? And I think my word of the year is going to be grace, even though I've kind of started a little early, 6 months early. So that's a big one for me. But, and that's just like, you've got to know my personality because I'm very much like, let's go, fast, 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 move, move, move. Let's get it done. So because I'm very type A and I need it done now, right? And so the grace is something that I'm like, so I probably need to like tattoo it on my arm or something to keep it on the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think sometimes as going back to those dynamics of people just, you're being disappointed in people or your relationships with people or they're not doing what you want them to do. And it's not like, hey, I need you to do this in order to be my friend, right? It's more like, I really would have appreciated a text message.
Right.
Like, you haven't heard from me in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
or 2 months or whatever it is, however often the communication was, right? Or I really, you didn't, I went through this trying time in my life and you were nowhere to be around, right? Or we used to go out for, like you said, the dynamics there where it's like the different seasons happen and people just get busy and but it's being okay and still extending grace when you were hoping the friend would call you or you were hoping the friend would reach out or you were hoping like nobody cares about me because they haven't. So you go through this whole pity party sometimes, right? And then sometimes it's like, okay, no, you know what? Be the friend. Be the friend that you need. Be the friend that's going to reach out. Be the friend that it's got to start somewhere, right? And so
because you don't know, we could all be thinking the same thing, right? It's like, well, she didn't reach out or she's probably busy and it's true. And that's what I have to say that I do really appreciate about our friendship is even if it's been a month or two, I'm like, hey, how are you? Just checking on you. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Hi. Like, you don't know how much those texts mean to me, especially now that I know everybody's in different seasons and we don't get to see each other very much. But being that intentional friend, I can say that
Right.
that
Yeah.
you are that person. And I know I need to be better at being more intentional with my friends.
Right. Right. And I think sometimes it's just us. And I think the other dynamic with that, as far as like people on the setting the expectations, is, there's different levels of friendship, and then there's different
Mhm.
levels of expectations, right? When you're
Yeah.
having to deal with people, because sometimes, as I put it, with my girls, I said I like to look at life um, and friendships in circles, right? So you've and the you've got three layers in it,
Yeah.
right? Where you've got your closest core friends that 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, I need to talk to somebody, or my life is
Yep.
falling apart, and it's the end of the world, and
They'd
they're
be
there.
like, I'll be right there.
I'll be
Yeah.
right there. They're
Yeah.
your ride or die friend,
Hmm.
right? And they're there for um, holidays. They're there, like, you can count on them no matter what season,
Yeah.
right? Those are what I would call the ones, right?
Right.
Then you have the next layer, which is like, okay, we have a lot of interaction. We see them all the time. We see them at church. They're coworkers that we're pretty good friends with. They are people we might go to school with.
Right.
There's relationships that you build with them because you see them all the time. It's frequent enough to where there's a good enough rapport, right, with
Right.
them. But then you have the next layer, which I call the outer layer, where you have maybe like you're going to see the people at church, and then you see them on Sunday. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. God bless you. Have a
Yep.
blessed day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and that's all it is, right?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's just, there's different levels of expectations, and so you have different levels of expectations with
Right.
each of those circles,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so I think sometimes I struggle with, how do you extend grace with all that, right?
Yeah.
Because as women, we want that intimate relationship. We want women to be, we want that connection. We want, the the to be relatable, but
Right.
also we want to be able to be reliable with each other. And then when there's a friction with that, it's like, then somebody falls in the other categories, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, how do you deal with that? And then in the dynamics in the workforce too, it's like, how do I deal with this? Because then you have different personalities and balance in it all, right?
Yeah.
And it's just us having to really deal with those dynamics
Because
in the
those
workplace.
coworkers do become friends. They do
They
become
do.
close. Like you spend, especially if you're
You're
working in
working
the
40 plus hours.
exactly, and if you're in the office, you're working
Here in
with
the
those
States,
people.
typically.
Yeah, like you're working with those people more than you probably see your family during the week. Which
But
is
then in a
extremely
leadership
difficult.
role, you still have to like find that balance, because it's still like, okay, we're
Yeah.
friends, but I still need to be your boss.
Right.
But you need, and then there's a whole level, and then you're having to lead them, and then you're having to make the hard decisions of
Yeah.
things like business is business,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like you're finding that balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but as far as me, and we kind of rabbit trailed a little bit, but
Yeah.
like, as far as the time that I avoided a hard conversation and later regretted it, I would say there was a time at work where there was something, I was struggling with the connection and the communication piece with, with a coworker. And, and it was hard because there was a level of expectation there, that on things that I needed to deliver on, and I felt that I was not delivering on something, and it impacted how I was showing up.
Mm.
And because I did not have, I'm really good at reading, engaging situations. I could not put my finger on it.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think because I was in it, I couldn't
Yeah.
put my finger on it. And I needed to like really just kind of step back
Yeah.
and just have the hard conversation of, what is it that you want? Because I got so caught up on trying to deliver and do something
Mm-hmm.
to the expectation that this person wanted it, that I was losing track of how I was showing up, and the quality of work, and what did they want, and how did they want it, and when did they want it, and
Yeah.
like trying to get in their head, that I really struggled with it. And so, and the struggle lasted longer than what it should have. And I'm normally somebody that's like, no, let's just deal with it and let's just talk about it. And for whatever reason, I couldn't do it. And it just kept lingering. And the longer it lingered, the harder it got for me to have this conversation with this person. And so it finally came to a boiling point. And we sat down and we had the conversation with each other. And it was a hard conversation. Then I was like, okay. And I had to like really process everything. Yeah. And it was not something that I took lightly. Mm-hmm. And I really had to self-reflect on it. And it was, I think, there was that white elephant in the room like that you were describing a while ago. But I think had I just addressed it early on, it would have not been so hard and such a difficult conversation that if I could have just been that much more honest and transparent. Yeah. But I was working through issues like as far as my confidence level, or I was struggling with my knowledge. Mm-hmm. And did I have the right answer? Did I not have the right answer? Did I do this? Did I wanted to show up and like project that I was having the right things to say and do, but I doubted myself at the same time. So I had all this inner turmoil going in my head. And then I guess they sensed and saw and I got called on it. Right. And so I wish that I would have just had the conversation earlier on. But since that conversation, it's been better. Yeah. Because now it's like, okay, I don't want this to happen again. How do we prevent it? Right. Right. And I don't want to be caught in that situation to where I'm not addressing stuff. So it was a hard lesson for me to learn, but there was growth in it. And there was something that came out of it, which was good. And now the transparency was there at the end of the day. Right. Yeah. And so that really did help when it came. So I would just encourage anybody that have anything hard to say or anything you need to address, just
pray about it first.
Have the hard conversation, come up with your talking points, and just come to a resolution. Yeah. So my next question here for you is, do you think Christians mistake passivity for peacemaking?
Yeah. As an overall blanket statement, I think we can say that most Christians are judged in a certain light or judged differently because it's like, oh, you're supposed to be a Christian. Like, you know, why are you using that tone, or why are you don't even, you're a Christian? And like, yes, very true. And yes, we should, right? They should be able to see Jesus through us, right? If we truly are walking with Christ. It's difficult. Yes. Does it happen all the time? No. And I know that's still something that I struggle too, because it's like my face does not hide emotions, which is really difficult for me. And I'm due for Botox right now, so it's even harder. But it's, my tone has always been an issue too. I know this years because I'm very quick with words and very quick to snap back and very quick to call you out. But then it's like, wait a minute. If I just like stop for a minute, just to even take a beat, and like the deliverance of my message could have been received a lot better had I, taken the time and maybe actually even prayed about it in my head. Step back, put myself in timeout. And I have to say that I have to put myself in timeout a lot because I know my emotions are getting the best of me. It's like, hold on. I've even responded to some email or text message like, I need to take a step back for a minute, but I'll reach back out in just a few minutes or in a little bit, whatever that time frame is. But especially at work right now where I know emotions are heightened because of a certain employee and individual. And again, my team is pretty small, so it heightens a situation because it kind of affects the whole team because we're such a small team. And so right now that's kind of, we're in the middle of it, right? And so every day I have worship music on in the background all day while I'm working. It's a constant prayer that I have to be saying every single day while I'm working.
There's growth happening.
I've had to, again, I even told my boss, I'm like, I had to put myself in timeout. I'm like, I have to admit it. I have to step back because I can't, it was starting to show, like you said, my emotions or my like tone was changing when I'd respond to a certain person because it's again, emotions are heightened. The history of everything that had transpired and up until this point, it's still there. So it's like
Mhm.
that thorn in your side, and you still have to smile and greet them like like anybody else,
Yeah.
and that's hard
Mhm.
to do it every day.
Yeah. I can certainly understand that. I'm gonna go to my next question here. How do you balance truth and love when holding someone accountable?
That's like you said, like finding that balance, right?
Mhm.
Of showing grace, showing
Mhm.
grace. And for me, it's like I have to think about it as this way. Like, and sometimes actually even like verbally have to say it in my mind, like they're a child of God too.
Yeah.
Like I have to really remind myself they're a child of God too.
Mhm.
I'm a child of God. I've been forgiven. They need forgiveness. Like I
Yeah.
have to constantly recite that in my head sometimes when dealing with difficult people like
Mhm.
that, because at the end of the day, they are a child of Christ. We should treat them how God treated. Like we don't deserve His love and grace and mercy, but He gave it freely. So,
Mhm.
and no, we're not God, but it's in the
Mhm.
sense we should be Christ-like as much as we can
Mhm.
and extend that same grace and love because that's what we're called to do.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it's just I think where you are with your spiritual walk and your journey. I think really just you progress and you learn to deal with it in a certain different way
Mhm. Mhm.
than you normally would, right? You start dying to yourself, and the more you have an increased prayer life and spiritual walk, and that becomes easier. But some days are hard,
Yeah.
and it is going to be hard. Like it's
Mhm.
not you just become a Christian and everything's just sunshine
Mhm.
and rainbows and everything's perfect, because it's not. So it's just like again that constant, like it gets better over time, and you the way you deal with
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
because of who you are inside.
Mhm.
But again, it's a constant.
Yeah, I think in the book of Zechariah, it talks about how you um, how you treat other people, right? And I think that's one of the things I think you hit on something there because, and I was trying to pull it up on my phone really quick and I couldn't find it. It's either Zechariah 2 or Zechariah 3. And it talks about how you treat other people, right? And essentially how you treat other people, that's how you're treating Jesus.
Right.
And that's what it says in the book there. And I was just like, when I read that, that really resonated with me because it's like, if you're treating somebody bad, if you're talking about somebody bad, if you're frustrated with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And this is how we walk and we're walking with Christ, right? And how
Mm.
we know like the sanctification, which is like our growth with God, right? But it's like this is how we know where we are with our growth, right? Because it's like you're gonna feel convicted if you are treating somebody bad. And because God, that's the Holy Spirit telling you, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have done better. You could have,
Yeah.
treated that person a little bit better. And I think that's kind of how when I
And that's the conviction of that. And I say even
Mhm.
just recently you brought it reminded me of a conversation again with this one particular person. And it's like we were getting ready to leave, and the way I responded to something she said was very sharp. Not that it was like mean or um, like I didn't raise my voice. I think it just came out and was very sharp. So then we leave and
Mhm.
we're heading to lunch, and it was a team lunch, and on my way over there I was just like I felt this and like I felt horrible about it.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
to the point where it's like I called her on the way over to the lunch. I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm really, really sorry if what
Mhm.
I said came out anything other than what I meant it. And I was
Mhm.
rushing. I was, to trying to get out of there. But please, I wanted to call you and apologize myself before we got to the lunch, just because I didn't mean that, and I'm so sorry
Mhm.
that it even came out that way. And she's just like, oh, okay, thank you. I know she wasn't expecting it, but it was
Mhm.
just like, wow. Like I know I can say that for myself that it's growth for me, because
That's great.
before it wouldn't have a right, like I wouldn't have been thinking about it even in the car, but I couldn't let it go. I couldn't not call to apologize.
That's really good because you're having the self-awareness
Yeah.
there, but also knowing from a spiritual aspect, right? Because we're all spirit beings, right? But you're there's growth in not only like your mind and your flesh, right? But also you're aware in the flesh. I mean, your spirit is now making you aware of like, hey, Darlene, this is where you are today.
No.
Don't forget, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but it's Zechariah 2, and it says, "The Lord says, come away, flee from Babylon and the land of the north, for I have scattered you to the four winds. Come away, people of Zion, you who are exiled from Babylon." And then it goes further. It says, "A period of glory. The Lord of heaven's armies sent me against the nations who plundered you. For he said, anyone who harms you harms my most precious possession." It says, "Then you will know that the Lord of heaven's armies has sent me." Right? So I thought that was pretty cool because it talks about how
how Jesus feels about us.
yes, how he feels about us. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, like how you treat others. And that's kind of you living that out, right? So I think that's beautiful, right? Because that came to mind to me as you were saying that. And then I think the last question that I have for you here is, what does spirit-led boldness feel like in real time? I think we kind of touched on that, but I don't know if you have a different thought on that.
Again, I think when we walk with Christ, he does give us that boldness and authority, right? And so I think just as long as you show that, and not to, that doesn't mean arrogance and it's like you know it all and you're just going to walk into any room, but you walk different when you walk with Christ,
Right.
and you should reflect that. You should look different, even though it's not physical, but like it's like
People
like if
see
someone
it.
says like there's something different about you. Thank you, because I've heard that before. The beginning of my walk where it's like I know like how much God has changed in me. Not that I was a bad person before. No one thinks they're a bad person, but I really wasn't. It's just I was just different. But now it's like
different
again,
without
some people
Christ.
just don't know what to point. Like what it is. It's just something that's different.
Well, we're hopeless without Christ,
Yeah,
right? Like
but
we
I think that's
don't-
what I'm saying. He gives us that authority and that boldness to be able to walk into any room, right? To be able to speak our truth, but again, show love at the same time.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of
So, but I have the scripture here that's going to help us close out.
okay.
It is 2 Timothy 1:7. "For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." It's perfect. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you coming on site and just being here with me. I enjoyed our conversation today. I do look forward to hopefully having you back soon.
Yeah,
I'd love to
yeah.
have you come back.
Yeah, for sure.
So where can people find you? I know that you do a lot of work as not only on a professional level on the day-to-day, but you also do a lot of work for the kingdom. Where can people find you?
Like I said, my husband and I are a little bit of a sabbatical right now, meaning we don't have a church that we're planting and
But God's got you
working
in
at.
this season
Yeah,
where you
it's-
are growing and you're with
And
Him.
I think we were talking about this the other day where, we met, got saved, we got married,
Yeah.
planted a church. Fast forward, plant another church. Then, we've always been in like active ministry, like in a role in ministry where
Right.
we haven't had time to even we didn't have a honeymoon. Like we haven't even had just a chance to just even like sit for a minute.
Right.
We had a podcast last year too, and it was just time for us to kind of just.
But what is that podcast? Where like what's because there's a
so-
lot of work that was put there. So I want to make sure that
It
you
was Um,
That's a lot of work there, and
yeah.
that needs to be called out. So
Yeah.
what is
So our
that
podcast is
ministry?
called Grounded HTX. And our ministry was Ground Zero Ministries, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, that's where you can
I
find
think
us.
okay, good. Well, awesome. Well,
But
thank you so much
yeah,
for your
thank
time
you.
today, and I'm going to just close this out in prayer, if that's okay.
Yep.
So, Father, I just thank you so much for this opportunity and this time that we were able to meet. Thank you for letting us be iron with each other, where iron sharpens iron, Father. I ask that you use Darlene to continue to honor and your name, but also show up to where she can be bold and courageous, not only in the workforce, but wherever you plant her steps, Father. I ask that you use this podcast to reach others so that we can reach the world, to be able to touch others as they continue to walk and honor you. We love you and we thank you and we praise you. And we say all this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.